A big thank you goes out to Squarespace for sponsoring this week's video. Hello everybody, welcome back to the channel. I've come down to one of my favorite locations, or a location that I've been coming to quite a bit lately. One of the reasons being is that this area is slated to be logged, and I think I said in my last video when I was here how I wanted to try to take some or as many photographs of this area as possible before it's logged. So I've come back today to excuse me, try to explore some of the upper section here. Excuse me, hang on a minute. Walking and talking at the same time in this area is quite difficult. This area is extremely overgrown. Lots of trees have fallen over the creek. I'm trying to get some photographs of the creek and the big old trees in here. I took a bit of a walk up earlier up the creek, and it's pretty tough going. It's really steep, and there's a lot of deadfall, so you have to kind of climb over a lot of big logs and such. But it's absolutely stunning in here, really is, and it will be a real shame if it is logged. So when I was up here, I found a little bit of a waterfall that wasn't too cluttered. So I'm just going to go back up to there and see if I can get a photograph in that section there. And then down here, I also found a couple of compositions that might work. But as I said, it's extremely cluttered, so it's very hard to get a clean shot. As you can see behind me here, we have some big old cedar trees that just look absolutely spectacular. And then if I walk in the creek here, let's just walk up a little bit more. Maybe. Hang on a minute. Oh. Okay. So there's the waterfall that I'm going to photograph. But as you can see, there's some just beautiful trees in here. Lots of cedar and Douglas fir. Right, I'm going to keep heading on up, and then I'll set up my camera, and it's just quite heavy. A little precarious. There's some deep sections in here. So this is the waterfall that I wanted to photograph, but as you can see, got this log in the way, which is a bit of a pain. But there's some really great rocks down by my feet here. So I thought that perhaps I could use those as a foreground. What I've done is I put on a wide angle lens, which is a 23mm for medium format. I'm going to get down low and close to these foreground rocks, and that's the nice thing about a wide angle lens, is you can really emphasize that foreground and then kind of push the background back a little bit, because it kind of gives you that extra little bit of space because it's a wide angle lens. So have those in the foreground, and then I should be able to get rid of this. My throat's gone all of a sudden. I should be able to get rid of this. And it is very busy in the background, but you know, we'll have to see what we can do. The only thing I don't like about this is that there aren't any really big trees kind of around it. Most of the big trees are set back a little ways. Okay, I gave up on that composition. It wasn't bad. I like the rock, but the lens that I have isn't quite wide enough. So, and the other thing is that even though the waterfall is quite nice, like I said before, there's no big trees around it. But I found a different composition that I think might actually work better. And I have some ferns in the foreground, and there's also a really big Douglas fir. So I've got that at the top of the frame. So I've got the sword ferns, and then the waterfall, and then a couple of big trees at the top. So I think that might work a little bit better. It kind of represents the area a little bit better and tells a bit of a story. Whereas the other one is, you know, it's a nice little waterfall picture, but it doesn't really put it into context of where it is, because there's nothing around it to kind of show where it is. So I'm doing a vertical. I won't show you what I have because it's just too awkward to set up here, but I'll go over the photograph right now.
Well, I really lucked out with this scene because I actually got a little bit of ambient light come through the clouds, and if you look at the Douglas fir in the upper right corner there, you can actually see some definition in the side of the tree. And it's amazing what just a little bit of light will do for a scene. It'll just elevate it from the ordinary into something a little bit more special. There's also quite a bit more light in the foreground as well. So the ferns came to life and everything just came to life with just a little bit more light. It's funny, when I used to photograph gardens for the magazines, it's often the images that showed a bit more of the garden, perhaps a statue or a design feature of that garden that ended up in the magazine. If I just took a photograph of, say, a flower bed with no context around that flower bed, then it was just more or less a detail shot that could have been taken anywhere. And that's kind of how I felt about the first waterfall image there. It was a pleasant image and I quite liked the composition, but it's just a picture of a waterfall. There's nothing around it to give it context and tell the story of where that waterfall is. And in this case, I really want to try and showcase the old growth forest of the Port Renfrew area, because as I've said a number of times now, in a few years this forest might not be there. So I really want to show it in the best light. Once again, I'd like to thank Squarespace for sponsoring this week's video. If you're looking for a beautiful, professional-looking website, then why not head over to squarespace.com. For example, if you're setting up a gallery of images, all you have to do is drag and drop your selection over to the page. Once you've dragged your images over, it's very easy to caption, sort, and even edit those images. Interested? Head over to squarespace.com for a free trial. And if you like what you find, use the code AdamGibbs for 10% off your first purchase.
Well, it's getting a little bit dark for photography. Actually, I got here yesterday and it's been pouring with rain up until about noon today, and then it kind of cleared up a little bit, but it's been quite windy. So photography has been a challenge. But I hope that you can see in this video just how wonderful these forests are. I mean, they're extremely difficult to photograph because there's just so many trees that have fallen down. And it's just a big mess, but it's just such a wonderful place to be. And you know, it's a real shame that not more of these forests are being saved. I'm not sure when or if this particular area is going to be logged. It's not protected in any way, and I think it is a cut block. So at some point, unless the government steps in, then this will be logged. And a lot of the areas that have been logged around here are very similar to this. Many of the trees are perhaps 200 to 300 years old, but now and then you'll get some real monsters that are several hundred years old mixed in with the younger trees. Of course, they're all competing for the light, so the big strong trees, they're the ones that succeeded, and the little spindly ones are the ones that don't succeed. But I'm going to camp at the bottom here, and hopefully tomorrow the light will be similar to what it is now, except with less wind. It has calmed down right now, but it's getting very dark, so I'm going to take a chance and leave it for tomorrow. All right.